A group chat of technology chief executives runs a betting pool. Not a stock, a year. The year one person with 0 employees builds a company worth $1 billion. Tonight a man sits at a desk, alone, trying to be him. Nobody in that chat is betting on the software. They are betting on the man. The wager is real, and it is documented. Speaking with the Reddit co-founder Alexis Ohanian, the chief executive of OpenAI, Sam Altman, described a private group chat of technology executives running a pool on the first year. A single person, with no employees, builds a company worth $1 billion. Unimaginable without AI, he said. Now it will happen. It was said the way people say things they have already stopped arguing about. Most of the executives in that chat named the same year. 2028. That is the part worth sitting with, not the number, the assumption underneath it. A betting pool treats an outcome as a matter of timing, as though the technology is the variable and the person holding it is a constant. Every executive in that chat was wagering on a capability. None of them was wagering on a nervous system. The obvious reading is a labor story. Employees were hands. Software now does what hands did. Reduce the hands to 1, and the arithmetic still closes. That reading has a problem, and the problem is visible in the disagreement between the people who build the tools. Dario Amodei, who runs Anthropic, was asked the same question at a developer conference in San Francisco and answered in a single word: 2026. Pressed by reporters afterward, he softened it to 70 or 80% likely, which is not softening it very much. 2 men with the best available view of the same technology, 2 years apart on the same event. That gap is not a disagreement about the software. Both of them have seen the software. It is a disagreement about what else a company is made of. But employees were never primarily labor. A company is a device for distributing 3 things: the work, the information, and the doubt. Machines absorb the first 2 cleanly. They do not touch the third. The output scales. The doubt does not divide. 1 desk, 1 judgment. Every night. Nothing standing between a decision and the person who made it. 1,000 desks under 1 ceiling and 1 lamp in a dark room. The same enterprise, unrecognizable to itself. An engineer would recognize the shape immediately. Strip the redundant members out of a loaded truss, and the structure still stands. It still carries the same weight. What it no longer has is a second path for that weight when any single member fails. Which changes the question entirely. The constraint on the one-person billion-dollar company was never capability. It is tolerance, the capacity to hold undistributed doubt for years without relief. And tolerance of that kind is not evenly distributed across a population. In 2015, Michael Freeman, a psychiatrist at the University of California, San Francisco, and Sherry Johnson at Berkeley surveyed founders against a comparison group. 49% of the entrepreneurs reported at least 1 lifetime mental health condition. 30% reported depression. Both rates ran significantly above the comparison group. The study is self-reported and cross-sectional, which means it cannot establish direction. Whether the condition selects the founder or the founding produces the condition, the data does not say. What it does establish is that the trait being selected for at this altitude has never been talent. It is the capacity to sit alone with a question nobody else is carrying. He is 38, senior product manager at a software company of about 400 people in a city that is not San Francisco. Good at the job, not spectacular at it, and aware of the difference. 14 months ago, he started building something alone, at night, with the tools. It works. On a good weekend, he ships more than his 11-person team ships in a quarter, and he knows the comparison is not close, and he has told no one, because saying it out loud would require explaining why the thing is still not launched. The pattern is not laziness, and it is not fear of failure. Both of those are legible, and he would recognize either one. This is subtler. In the 11-person team, there is a stand-up on Tuesday. There is a designer waiting on a decision. There is someone who will be mildly inconvenienced if the work is not ready. And that mild inconvenience, that small social debt, is the entire mechanism by which anything at that company ever gets finished. Alone with the tools, there is no stand-up. No one waits. Nothing is owed. And so the feature gets rewritten at 2 in the morning for the 9th time. Not because the 9th version is better, but because shipping it would make it judgeable. And if the work is judgeable, so is he. 14 months. Nothing launched. And the part he cannot explain to himself is that this is the most productive he has ever been. The output is real. The commits are real. The velocity is real. What went missing is the stopping rule. Every previous job supplied one. A deadline somebody else set. A budget that ran out. A colleague who said that is enough. Ship it. Those were never constraints on his ambition. They were the load-bearing structure that made ambition survivable. Which raises a question with no obvious answer. What is the correct amount of work for a person who can do any amount of work? The tools removed the ceiling. Nobody noticed they also removed the floor. What we've been calling leverage is something else wearing leverage's clothes. A team distributes work. That was the first explanation, and it was true, and it was not deep enough. A team also does something that appears on no org chart. It bounds what any single outcome is allowed to mean about any single person. In a company of 1,000, a founder's identity is diluted through everyone else. The failure is partly theirs. The success is partly theirs. There is always a remainder. One person, no employees, and the arithmetic changes. Output equals self. No remainder. So the leverage does not only multiply what a person can build, it multiplies what the result is permitted to say about them. That is a different kind of amplification than the one being wagered on in the group chat. In 2003, Robert Vallerand and colleagues at the Université du Québec à Montréal published a distinction that is held for 2 decades. Harmonious passion, where an activity is chosen and sits alongside a life, and obsessive passion, where the activity has been internalized under pressure and fused into identity, so that engagement is no longer chosen, but compelled. Obsessive passion is not new. What is new is that the friction which used to limit its expression has been removed. Payroll used to stop it. Co-founders used to argue with it. A board used to ask questions. Employees went home at 7. The building emptied, and the work stopped, because the work could not continue without them. Offshore sailors already understand the shape of this. In crude ocean racing, the watch system does not exist because one sailor cannot handle the boat. It exists because judgment degrades without relief. Single-handed racers rarely fail at sailing. They fail at deciding. The tools have built a boat one person can sail indefinitely. Nobody has solved the watch system, which leaves exactly one scarce input, and it is not capability. It is the judgment about what is worth wanting, the one faculty the machine cannot supply, and the one nobody has been trained to develop. The pool will settle. Someone will be first. A name, a valuation, a press cycle, a profile calling it inevitable. Then the harder question opens. Not how he built it. What was left of him at the end? A company of thousands was never only a machine for making things. It was a machine for spreading the weight of wanting them. Across payroll, across meetings, across people who went home. The leverage arrives either way. The weight does not distribute. And the tools that removed the need for other people are not finished. They are already moving toward the next thing they can carry. The work, the judgment, the deciding. When the machine can carry the work, the judgment, and eventually the thinking itself, what exactly remains of the person holding the leverage?